The word integrity means being honest and having good morals. So part of being a student is having what's called academic integrity. It means doing what's right academically even when no one else is watching. So let's flesh that out just a little bit. As a student, you agree to do the following things. First and most obvious, do your own work. You're being judged and you're being given a grade based on what you know, understand, and are able to do, not what someone else does. Secondly, take your own assessments and do those by yourself. This becomes even more important as there's more and more online learning that occurs, and people are, working and taking assessments by themselves in their own bedroom, online. You should only use the resources that you're allowed to do and use during those assessments. If it's an open note test, use your notes, and only you should be answering those questions, not be getting help from others. Use your own words, not the words of somebody else. Give credit to the work of others when you borrow pieces of it. So it's okay at times in papers and lab reports and things to borrow. Notice the word borrow is in quotes there, because you're not taking somebody else's words and presenting them as your own. You're saying, this is what somebody else thought and I agree with them, and you're giving reference to them. You're putting a citation in your paper or at that spot or at the end that says, this is what I agree with, and this is the person who came up with that idea first. You are not to give your work to others. Okay, that is a part of academic integrity that students often miss. This is wrong, to give your work to other people. Each person needs to do their own work and submit their own work. You can help other people when you're not being assessed, but you cannot give them your finished work so that they can use it. Plagiarism is a common word that's thrown around, and let's get into what that actually means. If you look up the dictionary.com definition, it's the practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as one's own. Okay? Notice it's taking someone else's work. You're not borrowing it, you're not giving them credit, you're just saying, this is what I think, and you're using what someone else thought. Wikipedia calls it the representation of another's author's language, thoughts, ideas, or expressions. So you could be copying their words that they put out there. You could be taking a new original thought that they had and passing it off as your own. Or let's say you're doing a speech or an oral presentation or something, and you could be expressing things in a way that someone else did originally and you're not giving them credit. When you pass it off as your own work, that is plagiarism. If you look up the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition, they get into the derivation of the word, and the word plagiarism comes from the Latin plagiaris, which means kidnapper. Okay, that's how serious it is. Plaga is a net used by hunters to catch game, so they're talking about kidnapping someone else's work. It is a very serious thing, and it applies to a variety of different types of work. Plagiarism applies to homework. If you copy the homework someone else did, that is plagiarism. And likewise, if you let someone else copy your homework, that is also violating academic integrity. Online test taking. Okay, if you are online and you're copying and pasting answers to things, then you are plagiarizing that work, even if it's an open resource test. Okay, let's say your teacher says, this is open internet, open resource. When you find something online, you need to understand it and be able to explain it in your own words and not plagiarize. If you're doing a paper in a lab report, obviously that applies. And the use of images and presentations. Okay, if you are finding images to put into a presentation, you've got to cite those images and put the URL that you found them from either there or at the end of your presentation. And using Google Images is not an appropriate citation. That just is a search engine that's used to find images. When you click on that image, it'll tell you what website it came from. You also have to be careful because some images have copyrights assigned to them, and they are not eligible to be used freely in presentations. Any kind of formal published work can be plagiarized. If someone is giving a speech and they copy someone else's speech and say it, that is plagiarism. As a student, you should approach all of the work that you're going to turn in as formal work, and especially if you're online learning, you are basically publishing it when you turn it in online, because it could be seen by other people. So you need to be very careful about plagiarism in any kind of these works. Plagiarism is not just something that you got to be careful of. It has serious consequences. If you're caught plagiarizing in class, you could be given 0 credit. Let's say you're doing a homework assignment and I find 2 homework assignments that are identical. Both students will get 0s on those assignments. If you're taking an online test and I find that 60% of your answers are not in your own words or more, you'll be getting a 0 on that test question, okay? Or maybe even on the test in general. More often, if you turn in a lab report that is plagiarized from someone else, what's going to end up happening is you're going to get a maximum score of 70%. You're going to have to rewrite the assignment, so you won't just get out of doing it and get a 0. You're going to have to rewrite it. You'll need to understand it, because even if you get a perfect on it, you will get a 70%. That would be the penalty for plagiarism. You could be subject to detention or other type of disciplinary action. Depends on how many times this has been a violation. If it's the first time you've gotten caught, you probably have just a detention and have to redo the assignment. If it's multiple times, you could have more severe disciplinary action. And not only for the person who did the copying. If there's 2 students, and whenever I've encountered it in the past, I've had students who gave their paper to somebody else and said, well, they were asking me and I didn't think it was bad to help them out. You cannot give your paper to somebody else and let them copy it, because you will face disciplinary action as well. This will go on your permanent record if you're caught plagiarizing. Okay, in any school, they're going to keep it on your permanent record, and when that gets passed on to colleges, they're going to see that you were caught cheating and plagiarizing in the past. So it's a serious thing. If you're in college and you are caught, the college will regularly expel students. They will say, thank you for all the work you've done, go home, don't come back, and they will put it on your permanent record, because it is such a serious violation of academic integrity. So, quick summary. We expect you all to display honesty and good morals with academics. We want you to try your best. That's what you're being graded on, and that's all we can ask of you, is to do your best. Some of you may not be great in certain subjects and you're going to be outstanding in others. Well, as long as you're doing your best, that's what we're expecting. Seek help when you need it. Most cases where I've seen plagiarism occur, it's because a student just didn't know what was expected of them, didn't understand the content being covered or an assignment, and they just decided to copy something because they didn't get it. Okay? Go to your teacher. Ask them for help. That's why they're there. There's not a teacher alive who's going to say, no, I'm not going to help you, as long as it's within the parameters of giving you help. If you're in the middle of a test, they're not going to be able to help you, because you're being assessed on what you know at that point. So before you get into a test, prepare in advance. Study, look up things you don't know, find out what you need to know before you get into that. And most importantly, do your own work. If you do these things, you are showing academic integrity, and that's all we can really ask of you.